Hey, this is Jesse with Create This. Today we're going to be creating 3.75 gallons of cold brew coffee using the Cold Brew Avenue 5.5 gallon deluxe cold brew coffee maker. Full disclosure, I don't have any relationship with Cold Brew Avenue at all. I bought this cold brew coffee maker with my own money, and I'm just making this video because I enjoy using the product and I thought you might be interested to see how it works. The first step in this process is going to be to clean out the keg that had the previous batch of coffee in it, and to also clean the lines in the kegerator. So let's get started. This is my kegerator. It is an Atosa brand, and the tap on the right is the Nitro cold brew coffee. This is a 5-gallon corny keg, and I'm just going to use a little bit of PBW. Coffee tends to be a little bit oily, so I'll just do 2 scoops. Should probably do more than that, but I go light. Next, I'm just going to fill it up with hose water, garden hose. I'm not going to go all the way up. I'm going about 3/4 of the way. You may have noticed that I use sandals when I do this because I don't like to get my feet wet. Shoes take a long time to dry, and socks. Next thing that I do is I'm just going to put the lid on temporarily. And then I'll sort of roll it around. I just want to get everything covered in there. Then I'll dump it out. There are probably better ways to do this. This is just how I do it. PBW tends to get everything kind of soapy. All right, and then I'll rinse that out with some hose water. I just like to get all the PBW out of the bottom. Give it a couple of rinses. All right, next up I like to sanitize using Star San. So we're gonna do, this is like a 5-gallon keg, so we're gonna do 1 ounce. I sometimes go up to the 2-ounce mark, so I might just fill up most of that. All right, pour that in. Then we're just going to fill it up with tap water. We could use filtered water for this, but I don't really see the point. I sometimes go all the way up to the top and overflow, like we've just got bubbles right now at the top, but I'm going to do that far for now. I figure those bubbles probably have some sort of a sanitizing effect. Put the lid back on, and we'll take this back up to the kegerator to clean the lines. All right, now at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to reconnect the lines so that we can clean out the tap. In, out, and we'll turn on the regulator. And we'll just do a pour to get the lines going. And we'll just let that sit in the lines for a couple of minutes. You don't want to leave it too long. It'll tend to eat the lines a little bit if you do. You can see that our pour is running pretty clear at this point. All right, it's been about 30 minutes, and the next step is going to be to dump out the keg and clean out the lines. However, I'm going to use some of that Star San to clean out my coffee maker. So let's go ahead and get that down. I like to keep mine up above the cabinets because it's kind of big. Now, I've cleaned this before I put it away, but it's been sitting there for about a month. You just don't want any bacteria in your batch. So just out of an abundance of caution, we're going to put a little bit of Star San in there, wipe the interior surfaces, and Just make sure that it's nice and clean. It's okay to have a little bit of Star San in your batch. It is food safe. I haven't noticed it affecting the taste. And let's just give this a little scrub. Grab some of that, get it along the walls here. I'll also take off the ring for the filter plate. And we'll just leave that in there for a couple of minutes. We don't want to leave it too long because Star San tends to make plastic soft, but we'll leave it in there for a couple of minutes. All right, back at the kegerator, we've got an empty keg. So we're going to attach our gas line and our liquid line. And we're going to turn on our regulator. And we're just going to do another pour to get all of the liquid out of the lines because, again, Star San tends to make plastic lines soft, or so I've heard. So we don't want to leave that liquid in there. That should be good. And now our line is nice and clean. All right, back at the sink, we've had our Star San in our coffee maker for a couple of minutes. So now we're just going to empty it out. For this, we'll use the pouring spout. I really love the spout on this. It is very easy to take apart and clean. Let's go ahead and put our filter back on, if we can. I find this pretty challenging. See, it tends to come off. I'll be honest, I usually end up having to resort to placing it against my chest, which is not great from a sanitization perspective, but you kind of have to do what you have to do. There may be a much better technique for this. I am just not doing it right, but there we go, I got it on. Okay, great. And I just have a little bit of liquid left in there, so I'm just going to get that little bit out of the spout, then I'm going to tip the rest over from the back. Okay, so we're all clean. We're ready to start making some coffee. All right, now it's time to fill our kettle with 4.5 gallons of clean filtered water. I use a filter that I bought from a brewing supply online for this. It's a charcoal filter, and I attach it to my garden hose. Now, you may notice that I have a fairly high quality garden hose, and I believe that those links are low lead or no lead brass couplers. However, be aware that, you know, if you have like a run-of-the-mill garden hose or regular brass links, you may be putting lead and other contaminants into whatever you're drinking. So use this technique with a little bit of caution. One of the attributes of this filter in particular is that you have to run it slow. And also, I'll note that I could fill this up with the refrigerator filter that I have, but it would just take longer and be more time-consuming for me. Like, there'd be more manual labor. With this technique, all I have to do is basically put the hose in there and then wait, right? So that's pretty convenient for me. If I'm worried that it's filtering too quickly, I'll just take a sampling of the water, and yeah, that tastes pretty clean, so I think that's probably good. All right, I'm just looking at these markings on the inside here, and that's at 4.5 gallons. So we'll take the hose out and turn off the water. I'll put the lid on so no kitties get in there. These filters are pretty simple to deal with, pretty straightforward. So you can just disconnect them once you're done using them. And then the top part unscrews from the bottom part. Dump out your water. And then I'll probably leave this filter in my strainer for it to dry. Okay, for the next step, we're going to use a blender to grind up these 2 bags of whole bean coffee. I'm going to use Charleston Coffee Roasters Signature Blend whole bean bold roast. So this is a USDA organic that I get from Costco. And so these are 32 ounce bags. So we're going to use a total of 64 ounces for our 4.5 gallons of water. And that's going to give us a yield of about 3.75 gallons of cold brew coffee. You can use a regular grinder for, like a regular coffee grinder for this process, but I find that they don't hold anywhere near as much as a blender will hold, so it'll just take you longer. You want the grind to be fairly coarse because this is more akin to like a French press than it is to the coffee that you would put in a drip coffee maker, or certainly like espresso or anything like that. That would be like a very fine grind. So I'm going to go with a fairly rough, coarse grind. We'll turn this to the side so you can see what I'm doing. I find pulsing it works a little better than continuous. I just go until all of the large beans on the top have fallen into the center and are ground. Next, I'm going to seat my filter. Make sure your hands are clean before you do this. So here's the temperature sensor right here. So we're just going to drop it in so that the bottom edge is below that temperature sensor, and then we're going to push it all the way to the bottom. Now we can take the coffee that we ground and we can pour it in. We're going to repeat this process until both bags are in there. At some point, it's going to be a good idea to start pushing the grinds down with a wooden spoon. Just get them wet. That was the end of the first bag. At the time of this filming in 2024, February, these are about $16.99 per bag, so $17 per bag. Started to smell like coffee in here. All right, so now I will let that sit on my countertop for 12 to 24 hours. It is about 3 o'clock right now in the afternoon. So tomorrow, after I come back from my martial arts classes, I will keg that up. All right, here we are the next day. It is about 12:45 in the afternoon, and we are ready to pour our cold brew coffee from our coffee maker into our keg. So let's go ahead and do that. Relieve a little bit of pressure. Grab my handy dandy transfer hose. And as my daughter loves to hear me say, away we go. It didn't take long at all. It was like a minute, something like that. So we're all done. Our hose is all clear. Turn off the spout. Remove the transfer hose. Replace the keg lid. Excuse me, miso. Watch your face. Gas line goes in the in. Liquid line goes in the out. Okay, so this is a quick Cascade lid, and it's designed to nitrogenate the cold brew coffee in about 20 minutes. I had to look up how to use this because I often don't use it. I'll just connect the in to the gas, and then I'll wait a few days because I don't really use the nitrogen cold brew that much. But I thought I would show you how to use it anyway. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna turn down our regulator. I have my regulator set for about 45 PSI right now. So I'm gonna turn that down. Just making sure that I'm going in the right direction. So the regulator's off. So we're gonna attach this here. Very low pressure, and we're going to apply just a little bit of gas. All right, now we're going to purge the regular oxygen from the tank or from the keg. So now we've got just nitrogen in there. So now we're gonna switch over to the quick Cascade lid. All right, and I've raised the pressure on the regulator to about 10 PSI. We'll let it sit there for a few minutes, and then we'll slowly, progressively increase the pressure as time goes on, and that'll nitrogenate the cold brew coffee. Okay, it's been about 3 minutes, so we're just gonna increase the pressure by about 5 PSI. And we're gonna continue doing that until we're back up to 45 or 50 PSI where we were before, every 3 minutes. All right, it's been about 20 minutes, and this is the final adjustment. I'm just gonna move this post over to the normal post. Let's see how it pours. Nice, it looks pretty good. Yeah, that's delightful. All right, I'll spare you the cleanup of the coffee maker. It's not real complicated. You just wash it out with soap and then dry it. Many of the tools that I've used in this video will appear down in the description below with a link. Those are affiliate links. If you click them, I get a little bit of a kickback, but it doesn't affect the price of the item. It just helps support the channel. So please feel free to click on those links. In conclusion, I think that this process works pretty well for 3.75 gallons. I wouldn't go any higher unless I had a dedicated plumbing setup though. So Cold Brew Avenue does make larger coffee makers, and I'm sure that they work beautifully, but I can't physically lift much more than 5 gallons of water. Even that is a little bit strenuous for me. So I really wouldn't go much larger than this unless you have like a dedicated drain and a dedicated filling station so you don't have to be like moving it around. One of the nice things about this setup is that it is really easy to fill bottles. So I will frequently give my friends at kickboxing or Kempo bottles of cold brew coffee that I've refrigerated and I've poured. It just takes a minute. You just pull the tap and boom, you're done. So really, really cool. The Nitro will leave the drink pretty quickly. So don't expect to fill one of those bottles and still have it nitrogenated days later. It just doesn't work that way. But it still makes really nice bottled cold brewed coffee. All right, that's it. I hope you found this video interesting or useful. If you learned something or found this video entertaining, please smash that like button down below and subscribe. If you have any questions about this process or comments, please feel free to comment down below. As always, thanks for watching and please subscribe.